Spent at Grandma and Grandpa's house can be some of our fondest memories, as many grandparents play a key role in caring for their grandchildren.
73% of grandparents say they enjoy childcare, according to a recent survey from AARP. But what happens if you don't see eye to eye on parenting decisions with your kids' grandparents? So if the parents don't see eye to eye with the grandparents. Licensed clinical social worker Kelly Kitley is here with some advice. Kelly, great to see you again. I want to start off with, and this is not about me, this is about all of us. The most common frustrations that you hear from parents about what grandparents do when they're watching their grandkids, what are they?
Oh my goodness, I hear about this so much in my practice. Too much screen time, too many sweets, maybe letting them stay up too late. A lot of times grandparents just love to embellish their grandkids with things that make them happy and have a really hard time telling their grandkids no.
Yeah, check, check, and check. They're indulging those little grandkids. And those little grandkids, they know. The rules are a lot more relaxed at Grandma and Grandpa's house. So before you send your kids over there, what kind of conversation should you have with the grandparents? Is there a conversation to be had with the kids based on how old they are?
Sure. I think that it's very important to have a conversation with your partner as well as the grandkids, as well as in-laws or your own parents. It's really important to set really specific boundaries. Be clear about what you're asking. If there's a certain time you want your child to go to bed, grandparents are watching them, be direct and say what you need. They can't read our minds.
Okay, I'm super lucky on this front that my parents get along really well with my mother-in-law, but there's a lot of families where that's not the case. So how should parents handle that if the actual grandparent sets don't agree, have different styles?
Oh my goodness. So yes, this can happen, and oftentimes, sometimes the conflict comes in where one grandparent is trying to up the other grandparent, and what is important is to lay the foundation. Everybody has a different opinion about how kids need to be raised these days, and so it needs to come directly from the parents, not either set of grandparents. And sometimes what ends up happening is there's this triangular relationship where it's mom, dad, grandparents, and the mom and dad really need to come together and support one another so that they're on the same page and communicating that to the set of grandparents. It is super important not to say things behind people's back and to use a gentle approach. Pick your battles, just like we do in our marriages. Don't harp on everything. Pick the important things, and also recognize parents and grandparents all have the child's best interest in mind, and it's just being clear about what we're asking and what our expectations are.
I love that, Kelly. It's true. Don't get into that weird three-way or people are talking behind people's back. That makes things so much more complicated. And I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but being direct and clear in your conversations with both sides, it helps. It makes a big difference. What about the scenario where you're getting nitpicked by the grandparents about how you might be raising your children differently than they raised you or differently than they think you should be raising your children? Because that happens in a lot of family dynamics.
It does, especially when we're talking about a generational gap. And so what might have worked for our parents doesn't work for us. And so we need to be firm yet gentle and continue to reiterate what it is that you're asking. Certainly, you know, I've heard grandparents say, well, when you were kids, we put you in a laundry basket in the car. Obviously, that's not safe today. And then that brings up a bigger issue. So if there's any kind of danger that our kids are being put in, it is important to say, I know that worked for you. That doesn't work for our family.
Well, and on the flip side, they have wisdom, right?
Yes.
So sometimes grandparents do know best.
Right. I like that. Yes. Credit to grandparents.
Conversation.
Oh, absolutely. We can tap into them as a resource, and they really love to connect with us on that, too.
Licensed clinical social worker Kelly Kitley with some great advice.